Hello everyone, welcome to my new playlist, and in this playlist we are going to study about gRPC. So without wasting any time, let's get started and study. So before turning to gRPC, we should know what is an API. API stands for Application Program Interface. So it helps us to communicate between two systems. I've created this thing. There is a system 1 and system 2, and they both are communicating with the help of an API. These two systems can communicate in many ways. We can use a WebSocket, we can use a Kafka, but a simple request and response transfer can help with the help of an API. So let's take a simple example, a real life example. So suppose there is a front end, or we can just say a mobile application here, and there is a backend server. So we'll just say a Java server or a Python server, and this is an e-commerce app, and it will call an API. It will just request a data from our backend. It means it is just calling an API, and the API responding it back with some sort of a response. So suppose there is a user came on our app and just want to see some of stuff of the clothes. So what will happen? The user will just go to the main menu, and the API call will go to the backend, and the backend will just respond it back with all the e-commerce, all the clothes that will be good for that user, and the UI will just reflect the JSON in a good format so that user can choose and perform some actions. This is how the API is working. Now there are different frameworks of making an API. Like we can just say types of API as well. So the most famous one is REST. That is very widely and commonly used all across the world. After that, there is a gRPC. Why gRPC? So gRPC is launched in 2015 and it's very new, and now companies are moving towards it. There is a SOAP as well. So SOAP is used before REST. Now the companies have moved to REST and now they are moving to gRPC. So SOAP was like used before 2010. Okay, now it's used by some banking companies, but not so much. That is now where comes the GraphQL. GraphQL we are going to cover in some other playlist. We'll just study this topic later on. So now let's understand why gRPC. Why we are moving from REST to gRPC. Let's understand this. So let's see the differentiation, and we'll cover every single topic why we are moving to gRPC and how it is better than REST. So first of all, REST stands for Representational State Transfer, and gRPC stands for Google Remote Procedural Call. First of all, the gRPC was created by Google, but now this whole project, whole thing is moved to CNCF. Now this G doesn't stand for Google. Now you can just use any other word like generic, general, anything will work here. Like you can just say general remote procedural call or generic remote procedural call. But it was developed by Google, so that's why I write it Google here. But this is a dynamic word right now. Okay. Now let's comes to an important point. What happened? Why we are moving to gRPC instead of REST? So it means there are some problems that we have faced in REST as compared to gRPC. So let's understand them. So first of all, in the SOAP, I told you that we moved to REST. So SOAP we did transfer the data in the form of an XML. But in REST, provide both the feature of JSON and XML. Suppose I am requested, I send an email and I requested a response out of it. So suppose there is a code like that. If I send you an email, that will return me a name, age, and my phone number. Okay. So if I'm requesting, request is going to be like this. Request is going to be like email. That is anything, and we are sending back a response. In the response, I'll just write it down here, and the response is going to be like name, age, 10, and phone number. Okay, so this is the request that we usually send in the JSON, and this is the response that we always get. Now let's understand how much space this particular JSON is taking. So first of all, in the request, if we understand it, so suppose this is braces, it will taking the 2 bytes. Now email word is taking approximately 5 bytes, and now like suppose the email is like something like the sharmakartik999@gmail.com. So like consider that it is taking 20 bytes. The overall sum is going to be approximately 22 bytes. It means we spend 22 bytes while we are sending a JSON from front end to our backend. This is the space that we are taking. Now when we are getting back the response, how much space we are taking? Again, the braces will take 2 bytes. Now, name will take 4 bytes, age will take 3 bytes, phone will take 5 bytes, and let's consider Karthik word is going to take 5 bytes, plus 10 is going to take 2 bytes, that makes 7, and this phone number is going to be of 10 digits, that will make it 17. If we summation them, okay, so that will make our sum. 7 plus 5 make 12, 12 plus 3 15, 15 plus 4 19, and plus 2 21 bytes. Okay, so what we have come to know, when we are sending the request, we use a space of 22 bytes. When we are receiving back, we are using the space of 21 bytes. Now, this is all happening in the REST when we are using the JSON. Now, why we move to gRPC? In the gRPC, we are not using a JSON. We are using some specific format named as protobufs. Okay, so they are in a binary format. So when we are going to study them, you will able to know that here we are sending the 22 bytes and we are getting 21 bytes, but in the protobuf, you will just send approximately 5 bytes and you will get back 5 bytes, something like this, and you will save approximately half of the space in the help of the binary. Okay, so this is the key difference. We have just compressed the complete size. Now, move to our third point, that is written HTTP 1.1. So REST works on the protocol HTTP 1.1 and our gRPC works on the protocol of HTTP 2. How it is making a difference? Why we are just changing the protocol in this gRPC? So let's understand it. In the HTTP 1.1, when you send an API, there is a thing named headers. You send in headers in an API. In that headers, you can just send our access token, the checksums, and every single thing like that. But what will happen? These HTTP 1.1, the headers are not going to be compressed. They are again going in a raw text. But in gRPC, with the help of this HTTP2 compressed all these headers and then they send it. So again, the size is going to be smaller than the size that is going to be in HTTP 1.4, HTTP 1.1. That is the difference. Now, we have discussed about the sizes, we have discussed about the JSON and the binary protobuf, human readable and slow. JSON is human readable. That is a very good point about REST. We can understand the JSON, we can understand it very well. But of course, the size is larger than binary, so it makes our whole process very slow. In the gRPC, we are getting a binary is very hard to understand and read. Secondly, but it is making our system fast. This is the difference. So let's move to the fourth point, that is saying streaming is limited. So what happens? In the REST, you cannot stream. You will just simply send a request and you will just get back a response. So suppose if you have to upload an image, you cannot upload an image in the forms of chunk and so that it will reach to the server slowly. And secondly, suppose if you are streaming something on a YouTube and if you are watching a YouTube video, you can, if you want to do it with the help of a REST, you have to send a complete video to the front end, a complete data. Okay, so the streaming is not supported by REST. If it is going to be supported, it's very limited, but in the gRPC, the streaming is present. There are 3 streaming that is provided by the gRPC, that is client-side streaming, server-side streaming, and bidirectional streaming. So now let's understand every single thing with the help of a diagram. So suppose this is my front end that makes an API call to our backend server. Now suppose everything is happening in JSON right now. So let's see what is happening internally. This is my UI. Okay, so suppose like this is a thing that we are going to send from the backend. So first of all, front end will request every single thing in the form of a JSON. That is a human readable, that is a text format. That text is going and transferring with the help of an API. Then after that, the whole procedure is going to happen in a form of a machine language. Because code is not going to understand this text. Code is going to understand the machine language. So it means that when our API is going to reach to our this backend server, there is going to be a conversion from our text to machine language. Here also, here is the code is going to understand our machine language, and there is also a conversion from machine language to our text. Then we transfer the data into the text, and then again when our procedure is completed, again there is a transfer. Machine to text and here there is also one more transfer, text to machine in the front end. So what we are doing, first of all, there is a change from machine to text when we are sending. This is the change one. When we are receiving, there is a change from text to machine. When we are sending it back from our server to our API, there is a receive change, again machine language to text. And when we are getting it back to the front end, it is going to be again text to machine. So there are 4 conversions are required with the help of a REST, that is making it slow. Now let's understand it with the help of a gRPC. What is happening in the gRPC now? Again, machine language. We are sending it in the machine language. Everything is going in a form of a binary, and everything you know very well that computers like our machines understand binary. So there is no conversion happening here. When it is reaching to this point, there is no conversion to the backend. When it is coming back, there is no conversion. When it is reaching to the point, there is no conversion. The only problem that you are facing it here is that it is not in a human readable form. Other than that, it is making our system very fast because there is no conversion happening at any point. In the rest, there are conversions happening at every single point, from text to machine language to again text. This is happening in our REST. So I think that this is the basic understanding that you are getting why we are moving to gRPC instead of REST, and that's why we should study it. So thanks for watching me, and in the next video we are going to understand how the gRPC is working internally. Bye bye.